Coming up tonight on Bay Sports, most high school sports stars look forward to a future playing in college. But Josh Frey went from the ball field to the battlefield.
Ended up joining the Marine Corps 3 or 4 years later. Just thought, September 11th, I had to do something. I had a lot of energy, and I focused all my energy in sports. I thought I'd go off to the Marine Corps, get some discipline.
Lou Piniella managed his final game for the Devil Rays. You'll hear his players' reactions and Sweet Lou's farewell to the team.
It'll give me time to go home and relax and fish and play some golf. And I'm tired. And I need some time off.
And NFL retiree Jack Youngblood knows what it's like to play through pain. This NFL Hall of Famer played a championship game with a broken leg.
Playing with a broken leg was probably not one of my brighter moments. I mean, although it certainly was a moment of passion, because that's exactly the reason I played.
Bay Sports starts right now. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's edition of Bay Sports. I'm Dick Crippen. Now, tonight we begin with a story about a former dual sport athlete from Clearwater High School. In the mid-90s, Josh Frey was a standout basketball and football player. Like most young men, he dreamed of wearing the colors of his favorite college team after high school, like the blue and orange of Florida or the garnet and gold of FSU. But the colors Frey ended up representing were red, white, and blue. With more on this story, here's Catch 47 sports director Eric Keaton.
Homecoming for a Clearwater hometown hero. Former dual sport athlete Josh Frey spent many Friday nights in the mid-90s rushing the passer for Coach Tom Bostic.
Biggest thing I remember about Josh, the fact he had fun playing the game. There were always a few light moments when Josh was around that we can remember. But he also played hard.
And many Friday nights running the floor for Rudy Coffin.
Knew his role, he could run the court, play defense, he could score, but his main asset to our team, and we had a great team, went to the Final Four and played in the Final Four that year, was his enthusiasm, and it was infectious.
The fondest memories were, going to eat at Capone's dugout the night before the games when we were playing football, and just when all the cheerleaders give you spirit bags and you're in the paper all the time, and you just feel like you're on top of the world, especially when you're winning.
Josh was a member of the 1995 Final Four team, a squad inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame this past year.
I got goosebumps from it. It just made me feel just felt good for everything I've done, and just to be inducted to a Hall of Fame. And you dream about that when you're going to high school. You never really think, you think Monday it might happen, but when it does happen, it's like right on.
Known as the Frey Dog, Josh was unleashed on the opposition.
Some of the biggest plays I remember when I sacked Rashay Caldwell to secure the game against Jefferson High School in a shootout. We came back when I sacked Carl Jordan 5 times in the Northeast game.
I think it really stands out because it put us in a position to win the district that year. We had a shootout over there at their place, and he hit him from behind. Caldwell left for a couple plays, and that was a big turning point in the game.
Like many high school athletes, Josh had dreams of a college or pro career.
I definitely thought I was going to go off and play at a big school. I went off and I played at Southwestern College for a year, and thought I was getting ready to, wanted to transfer over to Florida State or Florida.
But a few years after graduation, the world changed. And so did his plans.
I ended up joining the Marine Corps 3 or 4 years later. Just thought, September 11th, I had to do something. I had a lot of energy, and I focused all my energy in sports. I thought I'd go off to the Marine Corps, get some discipline, and fight for my country, and I didn't realize I'd go over and be in it.
Josh was based in California, but soon his home away from home would be in Iraq.
It didn't hit me until when I checked into my battalion, the 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines in Camp Pendleton, and we were training to go to Iraq, and you hear and see all the stuff on TV. When you get there, it really hits home. It didn't really hit me until I stepped off that plane into Iraq.
Upon hitting foreign soil, Frey's orders were to move from house to house.
Basically, I was in a infantry battalion, so when I was in a CAP platoon, it was a combined anti-armors team, and it was Humvees, and we were mounted with weapons, and we just did security patrolled up and down Fallujah until we had the big operation in November when we went in and secured the city with intense combat.
His final mission, a Sunday, December 12th, 2004. A day this Marine will never forget.
We'd been inside Fallujah. We'd pretty much had everything secured, but there were still some insurgents and terrorists coming over from the Euphrates River trying to get inside and get weapons caches that were still inside Fallujah. And we saw some insurgents getting sneaking around this house, and we went to go secure the house, and we went to go clear the house, and that's when one of my best friends, Josh Dickinson, he was hit in his head by a 7.62 round, and I was just trying to pull him out of the line of fire, and that's when I was suppressing, and that's when I was wounded from a sniper who was just picking us off one by one.
Dickinson didn't make it. As for Frey, the 28-year-old was hit twice in the right shoulder trying to save his buddy. In his honor, he wears a pair of replica dog tags in tribute to his fellow Marine.
I have a daily reminder. Also, I have very limited motion in my right shoulder, and I can't really play basketball and do athletics and work out and just do the stuff I took for granted, and a lot of people do. But I'm so lucky, and I still have all my limbs, and there's a war going on over there, and it's not a game, and it's definitely a life-changing moment that's happened to me, but it's definitely made me a better person to appreciate everything that we have here in America.
The loss of a friend and the physical injury to Frey's shoulder is not the only reminder the 28-year-old has from the Battle of Fallujah. Frey suffers from PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a condition the government says 1 in about 5 service members will suffer from that served in combat during Operation Iraqi Freedom.
I have a lot of nightmares and post-traumatic stress disorder. It's hard. I wake up with cold sweats, and I have flashbacks a lot. And I mean, I talk to a lot of people, like a lot of the Vietnam veterans come in and visit us at the hospital, and it'll be with you forever. It's just a fine line of just living in the moment, like putting it off in the distance. Know it's there, but just have it off in the distance and just not let it affect your everyday life, because it's always going to be there. You're never going to forget the memories of your good friends, best friends dying in front of your eyes, and you're clearing houses and you got to survive. I mean, it's just a crazy experience that no one can imagine. In the movies, I mean, they do an all right job showing what's going on, but unless you've been in those kind of situations, then it's definitely hell.
Frey received 2 Purple Hearts for wounds suffered in combat and a visit from the Commander-in-Chief.
In Josh's case, it was a big thing over there, you know, to sacrifice himself to try and help someone else. You know, it's always great to see the kids come back where they've improved themselves and proved themselves.
He loved Clearwater High School. He loved his teammates. He loved his school, and obviously he loved his country. He gave his body for the United States Marine Corps and his country.
Wounds may have changed him, but they did not change his future or his homecoming.
I wanted to get into coaching. I want to finish and get my degree and be a history teacher and coach some basketball or some football wherever I go.
Well, he's going to be quite a history teacher. He's been there and lived it. I have to say that's a great story, Eric, and it certainly brings it home as to what the perspective is on sports, that's for sure.
Yeah, and listening to some of his stories that he had, not only the ones that he just experienced, but going back, you can tell how much he loved his high school and all of his teammates. Otis Dixon, I don't know if some of the fans out there caught, was one of his former teammates, was there on homecoming night. Fortunately, the Lakewood coach had a night off and he got to reminisce with his former teammate.
Now, his best friend, he did not make it back. Was he from the Bay Area?
He was from Pasco County, not originally, but Dickinson actually was from the Tennessee and the California area, obviously serving out in Camp Pendleton. He spent 5 years here, actually joined the Marines from Florida, but unfortunately he did not make it back with the rest of the battalion.
Well, I've known quite a few of the guys that have come back and have had that post-traumatic syndrome. How is he dealing with it now? How's it going?
It's unusual, the new methods that the government has in dealing with their veterans. If you go online and also talking with Josh, virtual reality now, basically games are helping them deal with it. It's not just medication anymore. It's basically like you would imagine. They're putting on the headsets, sitting down with a therapist, and the therapist basically puts in a program and they deal with basic types of combat situations that they were faced with over there. And it's, I feel it's quite an unusual method, but it seems to be working, because to me that seems a lot more stress where they're actually putting you back in the scenario instead of talking about it.
Well, yeah, but there's a way that you could maybe correct that scenario and make it come out and you can understand exactly everything that happened in that scenario, which maybe you weren't able to absorb when you were going through it.
Yeah, it's something that that he deals with. I know in my family, my father deals with it as well. They all have different situations in handling it. He's a very young man, though, like so many of them are coming back. And so he still has a bright future ahead of him, and he looks like he's headed in the right direction.
I think people forget I was on the USS Theodore Roosevelt. We landed on that and spent the day out there 100 miles out in the Atlantic, and the commander of the ship told me, he said, remember just this, we take 5,000 into war. The average age is 19. So, Josh, we salute you. And by the way, salute you. Thank you for your service. This guy was Army, keeping everybody straight.
Long time ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe sometimes.
I'll talk to you about long time one of these days. Thank you very much, Eric. We appreciate it.